obviously the car company, that that were there, and the migration patterns from blacks from the South going to Detroit and Chicago. So I enjoyed Detroit. I was in graduate school at the University of Detroit, and I played semi-pro ball. Um, uh, so I think the nexus of playing semi-pro ball and having played in college 2 years before that, um, and Earl Lloyd, all and Coach Thurman. I didn't mention him. He was my coach, our coach at Parker Gray, basketball coach, again in the Hall of Fame, two or three of them, and our coach at West Virginia University, George King, and then Bucky Waters, who had come from Duke as an assistant, who would not jump around too much, but he came as our head coach at West Virginia at age 29. So he didn't recruit me or the other players that he inherited, but he went back to Duke 3 years after I graduated, became the head coach there. And then a year after that, he hired me as his assistant at Duke University. So here I am. I had coached 2 years got my master's at Tennessee State. We went to the national championship game there. And I coached 1 year at Gannon College in Erie, Pennsylvania. I was the head freshman coach at both of those schools in assistant varsity. And because of the success that the varsity enjoyed, especially, I'm like, man, this coaching is something I think I really want to pursue. So Bucky Waters offered me that job at Duke, and my career really took off. Where I met my wife, she was a student there in Durham, North Carolina, at North Carolina Central University. We just celebrated our 50th wedding anniversary, and so the transition has been one that has allowed us as a family to go from seminary and to see parts of the world through education, through sports. Our children, we're blessed to have two wonderful children. Dr. Jennifer Lewis, who's a professor at Marymount and a physical therapist, lives in Alexandria, went to Columbia and UVA, and then our son Christopher Lewis, he went to Harvard and played basketball there. He's a small guy, 6'8", and he's president and CEO of his company, Public Knowledge in D.C. So they both have done really well because I married really well. You know, I went to no, it's all good. It's all good. But the last piece of what I want to share is about how I've had a platform and a calling to help others through a 50-year coaching career. Okay, I had a couple of high schools, T.C. Williams girls here, South Lakes High School boys, 40 years ago, Duke University men, Tulane University men, George Mason University women, Fordham University women. I was the first head coach of the Washington Mystics in 1997 when they began as an expansion team. So those 50 years of living in New Orleans, where our children were born, or New Haven, Connecticut, when I was at Fordham, or being around here, where our children, fortunately, were able to go to schools all throughout their elementary, high school times. A life of a coach sometimes can be a little bit of a challenge, but we hopefully did some good things to help other people, just like I was fortunate to have those role models that I mentioned, coaches and others. And so that's my story, and I'm a proud Alexandrian. And when I go to seminary, as I always do frequently, I just go by where we grew up, the house where we grew up, which is no longer there, that area, and remember the times where I could walk 2 blocks and have a court, and it was a field of dreams for me. It wasn't literally, it was a court, it wasn't a field of dreams, but my sister Ruth, who was 4 years older than I, would always come up and say, Jimmy, Mom said it's time to come home for dinner. And I'd get there like an hour later. But I loved it, I really did. And I thank God for the opportunities that I've had, and looking forward to many, many more. So I think there were about 10 different segments in Alexandria, pockets, if you will, where residential areas where African Americans lived. And seminary was certainly the westernmost part. I mean, it's not a big city. You know, we love our city, but, you know, guys from D.C. thought we were, you know, country boys, until we played, and then we had to show our merit. But yeah, a lot of relatives were there in seminary. A lot of people who worked at the Virginia Theological Seminary, literally could walk to work from their homes, and close knit. My dad was chairman of the deacon board for 40 years at the church I mentioned, Oakland Baptist, which is still there, right next to Alexandria City High School. My grandfather was a deacon before him, and I think, again, athletics. We weren't thinking pro. Our worlds were not as expansive in terms of what opportunities the young people have today, and thank goodness that they do. But we knew about the team at Parker Gray, and we aspired. I certainly did, and so all that transition was happening because of the efforts of others, and I felt like I was a disciplined person, a Boy Scout participant, and I loved to compete. So it worked really well. But what a wonderful place to grow up. And once I got a driver's license, then I was going to the courts in D.C., driving and finding the best games I could find.
Is Alexandria a sports city? Was it at the time?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah. Again, I'll just real quickly, reference that dream team in 1946 with Earl Lloyd. The schools, again, were segregated, obviously, but George Washington High School had good teams. Those 3 years at 55, 56, 57, that Parker Gray's basketball team won consecutive championships and went to the National Negro Championship tournament at Tennessee A&M University, where I started coaching, now called Tennessee State when I was there, in Nashville. But GW had a good team that year. In fact, there were 3 teams that finished the Washington Post ranked number 1. Montgomery Blair from Maryland, Richard Montgomery Blair High School from Maryland, Silver Spring, and George Washington and Parker Gray were all number 1 in 1957. And that team from Parker Gray had won 37 games in a row. So yeah, we had a track meet started by Coach Johnson, again, who coached all 4 sports, as I said. And teams would come from as far away as the Tidewater area. There's a great little anecdote I'll put on this. There's a guy named Earl Faison who's in the NFL Hall of Fame from Huntington High in Newport News, and he was a man-child. I didn't see him, but the stories are true, and with a little embellishment. But he was 6'3", like 240 pounds in high school, Huntington High, and they turned out tremendous athletes down there. And he came up and participated with his Huntington High School team, and accumulated enough points in this track meet to win the track meet by himself. He won the shot put, won the high jump, won the 100-yard dash. I mean, just those kind of great athletes on these teams made you get ready. So Parker Gray was ready. When we went out to D.C., it was with confidence that we could do this. And so, yes, it's always been a multi-dimensional and multi-disciplined city. Okay, you cannot, dismiss, what I just said on a small basis, but the Alexandria African American community, the Alexandria African American Hall of Fame did a great job, and I was fortunate to go in with that first group of 58 people. But the discipline of so many people, most of whom went to Parker Gray, others who worked in the city as administrators or preachers at different schools, made this a city that was born out of individuals caring and expecting nothing but greatness from other people, young people. So I think one thing that really speaks to what hopefully most of us have shared is that there's a great love for our community and for our former high school. There's a historical marker on the spot on Madison Street where Parker Gray High School once sat. But and we've all experienced change in our lives. I'm not a pioneer or a trailblazer. I just happen to have been in a position to be the first African American to do this or to do that, and others have broken down barriers, if you will, over the years. But the camaraderie and the love and the fellowship that we still enjoy on so many different levels. And one is the first Wednesday of every month, we go to a restaurant. I don't want to give any publicity to the restaurant, but no, we go to a restaurant here in Alexandria. And there are anywhere from, I'd say, 16 to 35 guys. We need to integrate that a little bit better with women attending as well. But they're Parker Gray people or Alexandria people who didn't go to Parker Gray, but the conversation is about those days when we helped to represent the city in this capacity, in this sport. And two guys especially, Lucky Elliott and Butch Terrell, seminary man, both graduated from Park Gray in 1962. They're mainly responsible for organizing and sustaining this for years and years and years, decades. And so that, we can, my dad worked in Alexandria and then Washington, and that's it, and that's fine. And then he used to tell me different things about Rolling Stone gathers no moss. Well, I lived in a lot of different places with different jobs, and everyone has their own story and their own method and the path with which we hopefully accomplish some good things. But when you have a chance to come back home, and like we have with this group, it just we tell a lot of stories, and we have a lot of embellishment in those stories. It's a lot of fun. It really is. But it reminds us that we're still alive and we're caring for those that we've lost. And we know that we're in the last quarter of our lives, and that's something we really celebrate. And we enjoy that fellowship together. So it's not who could jump the highest or who had the best jump shot. It's what we did together and what we're doing now to help the next generation of people. Well, I certainly feel very humbled and blessed to have had the opportunity to represent our country on 4 different occasions with USA Basketball, which is a very select group of players and coaches and administrators. In fact, I was just listening to Grant Hill, who used to come to our camps at South Lakes High School, and he's now the executive director of USA Basketball with his first year of experience behind him, winning the gold medal in Paris and all that with the men's team. But he spoke about just the pressures and the responsibility in representing your country. And obviously, with us inventing the game of basketball, there's added pressure that way and responsibility, even though we realize that the rest of the world is extremely talented on the men's and women's side. So my experiences with USA Basketball allowed me to be an on-court coach, which is the first process that you go through at the headquarters of USA Basketball in Colorado Springs. And you're teaching and presenting the structure and the fundamentals to whatever group you may be working with. And then I was selected to be an assistant on the Jones Cup, which is an international competition held in Taipei, Taiwan, back in 1994. And we won the gold medal there. And it really was so exciting to hear the national anthem sung. Secondly, we went to Fukuoka, Japan in 1996 and participated in the World University Games. And that was best described, I would think, as like a mini Olympics in terms of the format, the setting. The coaches and players lived in an Olympic village. So there was great camaraderie, exchanging of souvenirs and pins from your country. And my wife went with us for that trip. She'd always want to go to Japan, and so the traveling party stayed at hotels there in Fukuoka, which was a gorgeous seaside at the city of the southern part of Japan, and that was a great experience. And lastly, we went to Natal, Brazil, in the northeastern part of the country, and we were fortunate enough to win the first gold medal for the United States for USA Basketball in the Junior World Championships. And we were led by the great Tamika Catchings, who was in college at that time with the University of Tennessee. So those gold medals and one silver medal were just great memories and opportunities to take Alexandria and Seminary and Parker Gray and all of the connections and the people that helped me, helped to form my basketball interest early on and playing and coaching career, take it with me and represent all of them in this area. And lastly, I was also selected to be on the committee that selected the 2000 United States Olympic team. So the administrative piece of that and having work with professional athletes, with the Mystics and those elite athletes with USA Basketball, that was, again, just a tremendous blessing. So I just wanted to bring that into the narrative and the humble beginnings, if you will, in seminary, playing on the courts there, and then through Parker Gray and on. USA Basketball was certainly right at the top of my list of having opportunities to share what I had learned from so many others.